Two of the folks in charge for coordinating the Queer Film Alliance. See the shirt. So this is our first panel this year called From Pocket Change to Picture Lock, and it's giving you the tools and the knowledge and some of the behind the scenes workings you need to create a really great low budget, no budget feature, because as a filmmaker, indie filmmaker, queer filmmaker of color, it's really, really difficult to get your story out into the public. So just a few things that are happening throughout the week. Tomorrow, if you are here, we do have our Icon Award, and we're presenting that to Angelica Ross at Landmark Midtown Art Cinema. Yes, give her a hand, give her roses. It's gonna be at noon. And then following the Icon Award, we are having a free headshot session and mixer. So if you need a new headshot and you wanna celebrate Angelica Ross, definitely come out tomorrow. It's gonna be free, it's gonna be amazing. We also have a really great shorts block right after this, web series, episodics, and music videos. I will be there moderating, doing a Q&A after with a lot of the filmmakers in attendance. I think there are a few in the audience right now. So yeah, I can't wait for that. So definitely be around. I think that starts at 3 o'clock. And so I think it's time to just get into it. All right, so let's start by asking the filmmakers to introduce themselves and their pronouns.
Hi, I'm Amber Woods. It's like Amber without the B, whatever, we'll get there. My pronouns are she, her.
And then can you say also your role in the industry?
Oh.
Roles or roles? Probably roles.
Yeah. I'm an actress, I'm a filmmaker, which means I'm a producer, I'm a UPM, I'm a first AD, I'm a scripty, I'm casting, I'm a CLC, I'm transpo, sometimes I'm crafty. I do all the things on the set that I can to make them run, but I specifically identify with being a producer.
Nice.
I'm Paige Parnell, she, her. I am a writer, actress, and a producer.
I'm Chase Cummins, he, him. I'm a writer, director, independent filmmaker, and I'm also an associate producer at Company 3, working in dailies and finishing.
Hi, I'm Emma Warner. I think I'm a little bit of an outlier on this panel because I'm not actually a filmmaker myself. I am the manager of Artist Accelerator and Women at Sundance at the Sundance Institute. So I run all kinds of fellowships, grant programs, so I'm going to be talking a little bit about kind of the funder side of things today.
And pronouns?
Oh, she, her.
Excellent, nice.
Hi, my name is Marley Archer, pronoun she, her. I am an independent filmmaker as well, so director, cinematographer, one woman show for the most part, a lot of times. We'll get into that. Yeah, that's me.
Yeah, nice.
Thank you so much. So to start things off, this is a panel about low budget filmmaking and creating amazing art. So can you talk about the first project where you had to really stretch every dollar, and also like what is low budget filmmaking? Like what does that mean to you?
We'll have a different question for Emma.
Yes.
Low budget, I'll start with the definition of low budget filmmaking. For me, it's just like being really passionate about whatever this thing is that you have inside of you that you need to create. I think that has been the way that I've been able to overcome challenges when there is low to no budget, is just being really stubborn about like not being willing to give up on whatever this thing is that you want to create. So just a little bit of hustle, a little bit of stubbornness, and sheer willpower to make a thing exist. The first project that comes to mind is a documentary that I created with my best friend. It was a documentary that we had no idea how to create. It was the first project we had ever made, and we just didn't know what we were doing, which can be a hindrance but also fun because there's no roadmap. You literally can make whatever you want. So we funded it totally. It was self-funded for the most part when we got started. And it took us a really long time to make, like maybe 4 years. We originally thought it might take us a year or two, but again, we were very green, so we found out that, yeah, when you don't have a lot of funds, sometimes it takes time to make something exist, so, yeah.
And then actually, Emma, can you share about your end of things and maybe a first project that you were part of funding through Sundance and the Institute?
Yeah, so I guess very quickly, like I said, I work on a number of like fellowships and grant programs at Sundance. So we fund a lot of very early career filmmakers. We support a lot of very early career filmmakers, folks who are, I think, dealing with a lot of the things that the folks in this audience are dealing with, trying to have a sustainable career, trying to figure out a way to get your project made no matter what it takes. And I think something that's been really kind of clarifying for me in my work is that folks who seem very established, folks who seem like they've gotten, you know, all of these fellowships or they've gotten all these festivals are still dealing with a lot of the things that very, very early career first-time filmmakers are dealing with. So it really is like an industry-wide issue. Lack of funding, lack of support, especially for queer filmmakers, filmmakers of color. So that's something that I think about a lot kind of in my work. I would say kind of an early thing that we funded, the first program I ever worked on was a fellowship for nonfiction filmmakers. It was specifically a sustainability fellowship. It only happened 1 year, but it kind of set my, I don't know, set the tone for kind of all of my work from that point on, because it was really about how do we make being a filmmaker sustainable. So it was a monthly stipend of $5,000 a month. It was, you know, a lot of project support, a lot of connections to other industry. So through that program, I really got to see several projects thrive in a way that I don't think they would have been able to otherwise, because folks were able to focus on their primary project. Folks were able to not have to take a ton of paid work on the side. They were able to pay their rent with that money or pay for childcare or kind of whatever they needed to do. And some incredible projects have come out of that kind of program, including Nessa Zimi's Driver. I don't know if anyone's seen that. It's an incredible film about like female truckers and kind of what it's like to be a long haul trucker. And it's this really interesting portrait of kind of this one woman in particular and her kind of journey in that industry. And it's, you know, Nessa was able to take some of the money that, and like money is so important, guys. I feel like I'm fighting with our funders a lot about what if we just up the money and let people like live, do what they need to do. And so she was able to take kind of some of the extra time she was able to have and like learn to edit, and she actually edited the film herself, which was great. So that kind of, I think, set the tone for all of my work since then.
Oh, sure. Thanks, Emma.
Yeah, of course.
Remind me of the question.
The first project where you had to really like stretch every dollar to make it work, and also the idea of like indie low budget filmmaking, like what does that really mean to you? What is not low budget filmmaking?
Okay, so yeah, low budget filmmaking for me is just doing what you have to do to get it made, to get your vision on screen. So yeah, the first big project I did outside of college that we really had we had like maybe $1,000. And one of the editor of the film was in grad school in Boston, and he had access to studio space for free. So we packed up a car with the entire set and drove from Orlando to Boston in a single trip, and built the set on the soundstage when we got there, and shot for 5 days and made a 40-minute short. And then it took 4 years to edit, but so that was like probably my first like really having to stretch money to build a set, to travel, to bring people in, to hire actors, and really make that money count. And you know, you hope to work on projects that build in budget, but that doesn't always happen from project to project, and you kind of just have to, take what you've learned from the last one and apply it to the next one. So.
Nice.
Yes.
Okay, so for me, the first project that I worked on that I had to really stretch the money is a few years ago, my friend came to me with a script, and he's a DP and a writer, and he's like, hey, I have a script, I really wanna make this film, and I was like, awesome, where's the money? And he's like, oh, I don't have any. And I was like, okay, how are we gonna make this movie? And he's like, do you have money? And I'm like, not really. So he was like, he wanted me to act in it. It was one of those situations where we wanted to work. I wanted to act, he wanted to shoot something. And I was like, okay, well, I can take some money from my savings. So I took like $2,500 from my savings, which was pretty much all I had. And then I asked my mom for some money, and he's, scrounged together. It was less than $5,000. I literally have two friends in the audience who I have had as extras. We just scraped it together, and the other thing too was that was the first thing I produced. And the reason why I produced it was out of necessity, because he also was like, I have no clue what I'm doing on the production side. And I was like, oh, me either. Okay, I'm literally like, I did a crash course online on like how to produce. I was the AD, I was crafty, I was makeup, I was location. So we figured out everything, because he wanted to focus on DPing and editing afterwards. But we got it done. It was about 23 minutes in total, 3 parts. We split it in 3 parts, and it ended up being really good. It looks so good. You would not know that we spent less than $5,000 on it, but yeah, it was rough. And what low budget filmmaking means to me is, when you have a project and you look at the amount of money and you're like, wow, we have a low budget, or no budget, and you're like, but we want to get it made. So you figure out a way to get it made.
Make it work.
How was that first question worded?
Leo.
Yeah, basically, what was the first project that you really had to stretch $1 to make work?
Okay, so every project I have to stretch $1 to make work, quite literally. So I've worked on projects that we literally had no money to $250K, and we still had to stretch. My producing partners, they just recently started working on $1 million projects, and they still had to stretch $1. So it does not matter. You can get a $10 million budget, you're still gonna stretch $1, because people like to live above their means. But the first project was in acting class with a friend, and he had done several small films or shorts, and he was like, hey, I got this idea for this 80s slashers film, do you want to help me do stuff? And I was like, sure, but I didn't really have a title or anything like that. I was like, let me just help my friend. And we did a seed and spark, but we had no idea what we were doing, and so we didn't hit the goal. And so we just had to take our income tax money and put that together. But he had already started the process of getting the locations and this type of thing. And so he kind of panicked, and I was like, listen, we can't shoot the whole thing, but maybe we can make 2 trailers, and then we can do another fundraiser once we make the trailers. And he's like, okay, great, So that's what we ended up doing. We shot the 2 trailers. They're really good, actually. We never did the film, but that's when I knew. I was like, oh, I can do this thing. I can work on the production side. I didn't know if I could be a producer. I didn't know that was what a producer is. So that's essentially how that happened. And now it's just fun into, I produce theater as well. I just did a theater project in August, and we didn't hit our goal on that either, but we did it. And it went really well. Low budget filmmaking is so interesting, because when I'm going and talking to locations or something like that, I'm like, listen, we're a low budget film. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, no, we have nothing, okay? Here's what I can do though. I can put your name in the film, So it's essentially community. Honestly, it's just community filmmaking. It is giving something to get something, and making it worthwhile for everybody that's involved.
Thank you all. So to kind of build on what some of you all have already been saying, when you have an idea to make, in this case, a feature film, where do you start? Because we all know we're not going to be securing $500,000, $200,000. I mean, maybe some people, I don't know, on this panel. Correct me if I'm wrong, but where do you begin when you're taking a look at your budget? And to build on that, where does that money come from? Some of you have already talked about personal financing, crowdsourcing. How do you really dig in there and get started?
Now I'm at the point where crowdfunding is my best friend. I'm the rare person that likes doing that. There's a lot of people that don't like that. Usually, film or writers or people with ideas for a film are coming to me more so than I haven't really worked on a project that's been my baby yet. They pitch me their story and I'll read the script, but it's really in like how passionate they are, because if they're bought in, if they're delulu about this, everyone else can buy into that. If the person at the top is like, this is getting done no matter what, then I can put a crew together, I can put actors together that will believe in that thing. And then the whole time we're on set, even when things are going bad, everybody believes in the magic of the thing that's happening. So essentially I start with the script and I start with the person who's bringing me the script. And then I look at it and I'm like, okay, how many days can we do this? How many pages do we need to shoot per day? What is that gonna look like? How many locations? How many actors? And then that starts to develop, like, this is how much money I think we're gonna need for this thing. And also, we get into a little bit of a development question of like, hey, maybe we need to like cut some of these locations. Maybe we need to rethink some of the cast, maybe make it a smaller cast until we can make it fit inside of something that's gonna be low budget. But I'm always pushing, let's do crowdfunding, let's try it. I've done 4 or 5 projects on Stevens Spark in the last year and a half, and they all got greenlit. And then my theater project, I did it on a different platform because theater people donate in a very different way. I did it on Give Butter, and we were supposed to raise $15,000. We only had about a little over 11,000, but we ended up getting sponsors. So we did something that people in theater don't normally do at all, which is raise money and then get sponsors for their play. But I had 3 different budgets. I knew I could do it at 5,000. I knew I could do it for 10,000. I knew I could do it for 15,000. I knew what it would look like at each one of those levels. So, and I do the same thing with film. So I just always encourage trying to do filmmaking, pull your own money, fundraising, pull your own money together. But, you know, we as independent filmmakers, we know we're circling the same dollars essentially. And that community is very strong in helping you pull your film together. And grants. Apply for the grants. Please, please, please apply for the grants. Because they're out there and those people really do want to see you succeed. So.
That's great advice. I'm gonna follow that because I have never done crowdfunding and I have never applied for grants, but I'm like, that is where some money is, so I need to do that. Typically where I start with a film, so I only have one film that I can say is my baby that I wrote and I produced, and I just shot that this summer. But the way that thank you. The way that I got any money to do it was honestly just asking. Like at first I was like, how am I gonna do this? I have the script, my friend who's a DP, he really wanted to shoot it, and I'm like, I really need to figure out how I can make every dollar stretch or where I'm gonna get money from. And I was on the phone with my mom and she was like, well, ask us. She's like, we are willing to help you. She's like, it might be $50 from your aunt or $70 from your uncle, but like maybe they can help. And I got more money from my family than I expected, and I had some friends contribute, and that was really beautiful. I think, yeah, for indie filmmaking, it is about community, like Emma was saying. Like it is about, you know, seeing who was willing to help. And then I sat with my script and I like broke down what locations I can use for free. I was like, okay, my amenity space in my apartment complex, I don't know if you're supposed to film there or not, but I used it for a restaurant. You know, we like staged it in one way for a restaurant, we staged it in another way for a yoga studio. I used my apartment. The only place that we paid for, we needed a place that was like a restaurant, and there was a place that was relatively cheap because it was in a location that's not that great, but we were like, okay, we're gonna pray we don't get shot, we're gonna come out here. And honestly, it worked out really well, but I think sitting down and like coming up with, like I had an Excel spreadsheet with every line item of things that could cost money, props, you know, locations, how much would it cost, like, okay, I'm gonna try to get my extras for free, but I might need to pay some talent, you know what I mean? And I'm gonna need to pay an editor, I'm gonna need to pay a DP, probably need to pay someone for, well, definitely need to pay someone for sound, because that's very important. But yeah, that's kind of how I come up with my first step.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo the same sentiments. Community is probably the only way I've been able to make any of my projects. I recently, on my most recent project that we shot in the spring, was the first time I ever did Seed and Spark, so we crowdfunded at the end of last year. And so that was the navigating that for the first time was interesting, and I can't say I was particularly good at it or that I liked it that much. But we did get greenlit. We set a goal for 16,000, and I believe we raised 12.5, I think is what we got. And so, you know, I had also gone through with the project and kind of determined what we could do with the 16,000, or if we had less, what we could do at a $10,000 and at a $5,000 mark. Really just asked the community to come together to help. My DP, I brought him on as a producer, and he happened to work at an equipment rental facility, and so all of our gear and camera and all of that ended up being free, which was a huge expense that we didn't have to worry about. You know, a friend of mine is an assistant director for Lifetime, and he pulled a bunch of his crew members who agreed to come in and work for significantly lower rates than they would normally be paid. So that also, it was, you know, just out of the kindness of their hearts, I guess, they believed in the project. So, you know, by rallying the community, we really were able to stretch that $12,000 and make something that looks quite a bit more expensive. I also, working Company 3, we, you know, had access to post services and stuff for free. And that's something I've been telling independent filmmakers recently, is that no matter what your budget is, even if you have $500, you can get somebody like Company 3 to work on your project. You know, at Company 3, we typically ask filmmakers what budget they're working with. So knowing that they're not going to be able to afford the service. And all you have to do is ask, really, and pitch yourself and be able to champion your project. And we work with student filmmakers and low budget filmmakers all the time. So it's really just, I found that just ask. The worst that you'll get is a no. And really lean on the people in your community around you.
Obviously, from the grants perspective.
Yes. So I think grants are obviously a very like mystifying thing to a lot of folks. They're wrapped up in a lot of jargon. They're wrapped up in a lot of like gatekeeping for sure. But if it is a route that you know want to go, or something that you want to explore, there are a number of development grants out there. So you don't need to have a crew assembled. You kind of only need yourself and your script and your idea and like your passion, ideally, you know, in an ideal world, that's it. But there are also a number of like programs specifically for screenwriters. So if you are writing your own project with the intention that maybe you want to direct, maybe not, those are also really great programs to look into. And I would say a first step, if you are interested in applying for especially development funding, is make sure your script is in a really good place before you submit it. It does not have to be finished, it doesn't have to be perfect, but make sure you feel good about where it is before you send it in. And unfortunately, stupid things like typos and like that kind of stuff do kind of matter. So have someone read it over, have someone read your applications over, make sure you have a really kind of solid understanding of why you want to make this project, because that is something that funders care about sometimes. And I would say if you have like a really solid past work sample, that is also something that folks really like to see. So if you are interested in development funding, your first step is like put a lot of work in on the script. Second step is get the rest of your application materials together and kind of make sure that you are doing a good job of pitching yourself, because unfortunately you do kind of have to do the like song and dance of this is who I am as an artist, this is, you know, why I want to make this project now, which are all like very legitimate things, but it can feel a little bit like a song and dance sometimes, but is one that you may have to do if you are interested in this kind of funding.
Would you say they have to be Delulu?
Right.
You know, it does help, honestly. Yeah, absolutely. Like in a good way though, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I would say about that.
thanks.
Continuing the theme of being Delulu, I think if you can get people to buy in, as you said, and really like catch the magic and the energy of what you want to create, I think that's been the first step for me in anything that I want to make. And so I've been trying to think about like, what are the other things that I do like as first steps, and it's always to figure out what can I do for free. Luckily I have some design skills, so what I typically do is try to come up with a really good package again on something free. Canva, I'm a huge proponent of Canva, so I'll try to figure out how to package the concept as best as possible, and just try to get people interested. What else is free? Community is free, like you guys said. I've also been fortunate that once I'm able to kind of communicate what that vision is, people just kind of hop on board. I've paid for very little in terms of crew, and usually it's like my friends, it's other people that I know from, you know, communities like this. And if, like I said, if people can understand what your vision is and they believe in it, a lot of times they will, they'll be just as passionate about helping you make that thing come to fruition. And then also, I try to assess how much of the project, I do mostly documentary work and kind of telling other people's stories, which comes, it's a benefit for me, but I try to see how much of it I can shoot outside, because nature is free. So if you see some of my projects, you may think it's just a stylistic choice, which I do love to shoot in nature. I'm really big on like, you know, cinematic shots, sunsets, et cetera, but most of the time my projects are shot outside because no one is charging me to be in a park. So that has definitely come in handy.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Real talk.
No, that's so real. Like that, like using nature, trees, outdoor shots is really great. And sunlight is great light. So I have a quick question for Emma before we move on. You talked a little bit about grants and everything like that. There are a lot of like screenplay competitions, for example, and certain places where people can submit their film that may not be as legitimate as others, specifically with screenplay. How do filmmakers go about like finding the right ones to submit to?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. There are a lot of, like you said, kind of sketchy things out there if you just like Google it. So it can be kind of hard to wade through what is legitimate, what is not. I would say if they're charging, a lot of places charge fees to submit, which is not out of the ordinary, but if it's like they want $200 and you can't find any evidence that like this program actually exists, like definitely do not do that. So I think it really all comes down to research. I think pulling from programs that other people you know have done, pulling from programs from, you know, filmmakers you admire. If you go on any festival website and you know, even go into like the shorts program and you start reading bios, it will list fellowships and like other programs that folks have done in the past. That's a great place to pull from. I think, yeah, just do your research and it is important to kind of look out for those things because folks know that people are really excited, that they're really passionate, and like they will unfortunately try to take advantage of that sometimes. In terms of legitimate programs that you might want to figure out which ones to apply to because there are a lot out there. Again, if you're like early career, a lot of programs are specifically for early career filmmakers and they mean that, they're not just saying that. So start with those, maybe start with, if you are looking for some artist support, not just money's very important, but if you're also looking for connections, if you're looking for to be part of like an institution in some way, have those connections as well. Look at fellowships or intensives instead of just like funding opportunities, so grants. And yeah, it's a lot to sort through. It's like a lot of Googling. It can feel really overwhelming, but thankfully a lot of the applications are pretty similar, so you can kind of repurpose your application from funder to funder. So, but it is a skill. Grant writing is definitely a skill. And if you have anyone in your circle who has like experience with that, definitely draw on them as well. Ask them what they did, ask them how they answer some of these like very jargony questions, and go from there. But
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. Yes, thank you.
We've all talked about like making the dollar stretch. Is there one thing in a film that you absolutely will not budge on paying for? Because there's always that one thing, particularly sound, that like needs to be good.
No, that's definitely what it is sound. And I've made that mistake early on and had to scrap a lot of footage, and it ended up costing me time and money on the back end. So if I'm gonna invest in anything, it's definitely sound.
Sound and set meals. I won't keep the crew happy. It's really huge. Yeah.
I would also literally say sound. I had a project last year, actually you were on it, everyone on it. We did Written in Blood, and there was like a couple days where we had this different sound guy, and it wasn't the best. And literally we had to, like, I don't even have a full sound set up in my apartment, and we had to have like me and one of the other guys come in and do like ADR, and I'm like, I hope that this works. If you look really closely, you can tell that our mouths are a little off. But I was like, yeah, my friend who directed the movie, he was like, we're not gonna cut corners there again. I was like, no, huge mistake.
Okay, sound. We said that. It kind of is starting to depend a little bit. So like the last a project that I did that came out earlier this year, Both Eyes Open. It's on Stars if y'all want to see it. I was not willing to cut corners on. Well, we did get some locations for free, but the main location that we were in, because we had to be there for 4 days, and I knew how big our crew was. If I'm your locations manager, I'm thinking about free parking. How close are we to walk to get something to eat? What do the bathrooms look like? Is there air conditioning in here? If they have an animal, are they willing to get this place clean? Because I'm not trying to deal with that. I need to be comfortable, and I have a high level of comfortability, so that means everybody else is gonna be definitely comfortable because I need to feel comfortable. So, but just for that, it was very, very, very important. I had to fight for that location because it was also a character in the film, and it, so the art of like locations managing and then like the set design and production design all came together in a new way for me, and I was like, oh, okay. If there ever comes a time where I need to do this again, I know why I'm fighting for this thing and why we have to spend money right here, and I can't budge on that. And like when you see the film, the production design, especially in that, is like way up. And so that would be somewhere else. There's other little places depending on what the film is. Like if it's an actor that we need this actor, like we gotta figure it out. If it's a costumer, we need that costumer, then we've gotta figure it out. But for across the board, sound.
I
want to add color correction, color grading to that. Oh, makes such a big difference in production design, yes. Sound, production design, color correction, color grading. Thank y'all. All right, so in what ways has working with a low budget actually improved the project and made you think outside the box?
We so this kind of goes back to locations. We got in a location and it was inside of an office building. So I don't know if y'all have ever done that, but it's like you can get inside of an office inside the office building, but the people that own the building are probably like, oh, you can't go here, can't go there, whatever. So we were kind of trying to guerrilla style shoot in the lobby and they'll shut us down because we just didn't have enough money. So we thought very quickly, we pivoted and we ended up shooting outside, and then it made everything that much better. And then we added an extra location, something visually better to that. To the film overall, and it just made it better. So I mean, that's just a small kind of example, but that was something more recent.
Yeah, I actually would say something very similar. Like, there have been times where we've had to cut corners with locations, and then it ended up being like the location, we had to shoot in my apartment for the first film. We had to shoot upstairs, and because we were trying to get a restaurant. We've used my upstairs for 2 different restaurant scenes, but this first one, it ended up being like this absolutely beautiful sunset, and because it was on the rooftop, and it looked like this really high-end restaurant, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what a gorgeous scene. But it happened because we could not afford a restaurant, and so we had to do that. But it ended up being, just really, really gorgeous. And then also for me personally, as an actress, I feel like having to cut corners has made me so much more grateful for being on different productions. And then I feel more knowledgeable about how to do more things on the production side. Because before I started to get on the production side, I would just be on set, I know my lines, I'm doing this, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go sit in holding. But now I feel like I'm so much more knowledgeable, and I'm grateful, but I also have more to offer to a production, because if they want somebody who's going to be in 1 or 2 scenes but also might help on the production side, I'm like, hey, I can do that too.
Yeah, so on my most recent project called Reptilia, it's a creature feature, and we needed to have our actress from head to toe look like a lizard person. And so we consulted with the local makeup artist, Shane Morton. And at first we thought we were gonna get a full body suit, kind of, which we soon found out was more expensive than the entire budget that we had for the whole project. So we ended up, Shane came up with this great idea of using airbrush with a couple just strategically placed pieces of latex. To create the look of the creature, and it ended up looking way better than any kind of prosthetic full body suit we would have been able to purchase, and we were able to bring the actors features out through the creature, which is important in the story. So it ended up looking 1,000 times better just using some airbrush paint. So yeah, that's my most recent example of low budget making it look better.
And Emma, what have you seen on your end of things where giving just a small grant has forced those filmmakers to really be creative, how to use the money?
Yeah, so all of the programs that I work with, the grants are completely unrestricted, which is not necessarily standard. Sometimes it's pretty strict requirements about what you can spend the money on. But because our grants are unrestricted, and we are through our fellowships especially supporting the project that they applied with, but really trying to more holistically support the filmmaker. We do see folks who maybe apply with a feature, but maybe it's taking a little longer for them to kind of get it off the ground in the way that they want, so they will pivot kind of mid-fellowship year and say, actually, I'm going to take this grant and I'm going to shoot a low budget proof of concept short, because that's something that I know will kind of help me be able to fundraise for the feature more effectively in the future. We also see folks, you know, take the funds and do things like, I'm gonna spend $200 and I'm just gonna direct a short with my friends, and like some of them are other folks on the call, kind of going back to the call. We do these like cohort calls with the fellows. And going back to like the community thing, they'll say, some of the people like in this room are gonna help me, and just like, I just feel like I haven't directed anything in a minute and I just like wanna get the creative juices flowing. So we definitely see a lot of folks kind of take those funds and be able to use them very strategically, which is great. And we definitely get a lot of stories on our calls from folks being like, yeah, I just wanted to help my friend out with this music video, and we shot it in a park, or we shot it at my house, or like my dog was in it, you know, like whatever it is. So it's definitely something that I think everyone everywhere is doing. And it is often like a community effort, and I think that's really important.
I would say, I know the question, but I want to hear it one more time. Repeat it really quick.
Now I'm trying to remember. Oh, how, I'm like, what did I ask? How has being restricted by low budget actually improved your project? It sounds like you do a lot of outdoor stuff. Is there anything in addition to that? Or a specific project that was improved by being low budget?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely location, and I think because I'm typically like playing a few different roles as far as crew goes, I'm always like, anytime I'm in my car driving around Atlanta, I'm always looking for interesting locations, just from like a cinematographer standpoint. I'm like, that. I have a running list in my notes of just like locations, street addresses. So it puts me in a place of always kind of like location scouting, but I'm trying to think about one specific project. Oh, you probably wouldn't be able to film there now because how Mill has changed so much, but actually for the 48-hour film challenge that I did a few years ago, we had to find locations quick and we couldn't pay for anything, and I had this thing in the back of my head, like I just will go out sometimes and just explore places, and I found this truck yard off of Howell Mill. I couldn't even tell you how to get there anymore. There are now some like probably $500,000 to $600,000 townhomes that are on the other side, so I'm sure it's not even accessible, but as soon as they were like, okay, where do you want to shoot? Because this was also, the challenge was funded by a production / distribution company, so they were like, you have like 5 minutes, tell us where you want to shoot, and I was like, I know exactly where. And it's really cool. It has like a lot of interesting graffiti. It's really giving like a dystopian vibe. It's, you know, really abandoned, and it was a great shooting location. So I think location-wise, that's always going to be a benefit. It really forces you to get creative and to take advantage of kind of the surroundings of whatever city you may be in.
I think, let me check the time. We want to make sure we have enough
Yeah,
time
about
for the
12:13.
customers to, okay, perfect. So, couple questions and then one more question,
Maybe one more.
and then, so I do want to talk a little bit because we know we have to be delusional about our project. We've written it, we're excited about it. We have all the passion in the world. How do you make sure, as a filmmaker and creative, you don't burn yourself out or your crew out because you're all working for limited funds, sometimes no funds, sometimes community help for free? How do you find that balance, and how do you make sure, or do you find the balance? Do you just give it all for the art?
That's a really good question, and it's something I'm still learning because I can just kind of be like 0 to 100 when I want to make a thing. But I think just being forgiving and giving each other grace, and not being so fixated on perfection, and just letting the art and the passion of whatever you want to create kind of drive you, and then also being willing to kind of push back production timelines. The majority of the projects that I've actually finished, they took 2 to 3 times longer than what I anticipated. And I think just being forgiving with like people's schedules and the fact that we all have lives going on has made a really, really big difference. And if you I guess kind of help to prioritize people's lives and like their mental health and what they have going on outside of this project, it just gives you a little bit more staying power. So that's definitely been my approach.
And Emma, because you are from the fundraising side, you know a lot of artists, and a lot of artists do live like paycheck to paycheck, and you already talked about gatekeeping that seems to be there. How can artists go from just creating and living paycheck to paycheck to being like sustainable working artists from your viewpoint?
I think that's it's a huge question.
It is a huge question.
And it is something that I think there's not one kind of right answer, and it's something that, I don't think I know. I've been doing this specific job for 4 years now, and I don't think I really know a single artist maybe who has not felt that way, at least at some point, or is still kind of grappling with how to have a sustainable career. I would say something that, because it is so common, I think it's important to give yourself a lot of grace as an artist and to realize that almost everyone else is also kind of dealing with the same things. Sometimes you will have to push your timelines back. We have folks who I started working with 4 years ago who are not finished with their projects. These things take a lot of time often. Folks have to take breaks to have a paying job for a while. We have a lot of folks who have a full-time day job and are also, artists when they have time. And of course, everyone wishes that was not the case, but I think it is kind of part of the reality of trying to be an independent filmmaker today. You even hear about, Nora Ephron couldn't get her film made. It's everybody, guys. Yeah, so I think one, just don't feel like that it is, that having, filmmaking be your full-time job is the only way to make it work. And I think having paid work either in the film industry or outside of it is very common. I wish that I had any answers on this, but I kind of don't.
Are you still you're still working on that resource guide?
Yes, and I am putting together a little resource guide basically for folks, funding to apply to, programs to look into, all of that kind of stuff. So that will be forthcoming at some point.
Get on our here.
Little interlude. If you can, sign up for the Queer Film Alliance email list, and we will send that out once Emma has that. So graciously, she's offered that to us, and she's been very busy. But I'll keep bugging you about it, and we'll get it. And once we do, we'll share it with anyone that signed up to that list. We'll send a little email out with that resource guide. So thank
And
you.
you can sign up on their website.
On our website, thank you.
You can sign up on our website, allenfilm.org, and there is a Queer Film Alliance page where you can sign up for the email list, and that will also get you on the Allen Film email list. You can get notices about all the mini festivals and panels and education that we have throughout the year.
We were talking about burning ourselves out, burning the crew out. Okay.
Not do that. It's not how do we not do?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So I have the tendency to kind of take on a lot of that extra stress. I find when I'm asking people to work on a film, one of my films, either for free or for a limited amount of money, or really for just working on it in general, I really want to respect their time and treat them with as much respect as possible, kind of as a courtesy, because they don't have to be there. And so I try to kind of aim for French hours, shorter days if we can schedule it. But any of that extra work that's required on set, I will tend to take on myself. So I'm still very much learning how to not burn myself out. But I do think that it is really important to make sure that your crew and that everybody working on the film and everybody donating time to get the thing made deserves to, you should, as the filmmaker, the person in charge, make sure that you're doing everything you can to get them offset as early as they can be offset that day, and make sure that they've got good food to eat and that that they're in a comfortable environment and that everything is like safe. And so I don't know if I can speak to how well I've done in the past. You'll have to ask people who work on my sets. But I think I've done a pretty good job. But I will be the one working like hour 16, still offloading cards at the end of the day, you know. And I try to take on that responsibility as opposed to asking someone else to do that for me, especially when you can't pay people like a ton of money. So does that answer the question?
Yes, thank you.
I feel like I'm still trying to figure out the burnout thing, but because I mean, it really does, even if you're working an 8-hour day or if you're working a 14-hour day, you might have burnout depending on what you're shooting. If it's in my control, the one way that I have been able to mitigate burnout is working with people that I really like. Because when you're working with people that you really like working with, and obviously this is not always in my control, but if I'm able to hire people that I've worked with, that I enjoy working with, that are hard workers, that are great communicators, that are just amazing people to be around, it does make a world of a difference. And I think especially for indie filmmakers, a lot of us have friends in the business, and so it's like, hire your friends that you love that work hard, and that will, you know, be there to uplift you at the end of the day when you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die. I think that one of the things, last year for our film Written in Blood, I feel like at the end of that film, I was like, it feels like we were at summer camp because it was just so fun and we worked really hard and we were in these crazy locations and it was really cold and it was really stressful for a lot of the days, but it was just, yeah, it was insane. There were a lot of insane days of shooting, but I had such a good time because we worked with such hardworking, kind, generous people, and I think if we were like, sorry, we gotta keep you on set a little bit longer, people were like, okay, that's fine. And I think that's the one way that I would say, I mean, you might still be burnt out, but at least you're in good company.
Yes, you're having fun.
Yeah, you're having fun.
I care a lot about the crew. I noticed I'm not from film and TV. This is not the industry that I came up in. I'm a healthcare worker and I switched over into this. So technically I am still a neurophysiologist, I just don't practice. So I brought over what we do in the hospital. You know, the surgical teams, you gotta take care of the surgical team. Anesthesia has to be taken care of, your surgeon has to be taken care of, your nurses have to be taken care of, but somebody's gonna die. So that's what I know. So coming over into film and TV, we still have to everybody has to be safe. Everybody has to feel safe. Everybody has to feel that they can speak, that they can be heard. But I've noticed a lot of, when I came in, that people were just like ignoring the crew. And I'm like, y'all wouldn't have a movie if they weren't here. You couldn't see anything, you can't hear anything, you know, nobody's gonna be dressed. So I take care of my crew and they'll tell you like anything Amber wants, we're showing up. We don't care if she's got the budget or not, we're coming because they know they're going to be taken care of. As much as I can within my power. I know with Both Eyes Open, it was, that was a longer shoot. That was the longest shoot we had been on, and I was like, I know the burnout is gonna happen. I started feeling delusional around day 11. And so I was just making sure people ate. I was making sure people got rest. I was making sure we had the snacks that they wanted, that we had healthy food on set that we could put inside of our budget so that, because we had overnights back to back, you know, starting at 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. So if I noticed somebody was upset about a thing, I pulled them to the side. Hey, is everything okay? My camera team, this is my first time working with this particular camera team, and the gaffers and sound and my grips, and they were all men. And we did a camera hug every day before we got started. And I made us all hug each other. And we get in a circle, and then I just go around and tell them everything that they did that was great the day before, and everything that everyone was saying. Cause like my director would whisper in my ear, and she's like, "Did you see that thing that Tyler did?" Yes, go tell him. So I made sure that he knew, or that they knew, the things that were being said about them on set. They were great. I had 15 interns on that set that were my interns. I had each one of them sign up for a day, but I knew I couldn't pay them, so I made it very, very clear, you will be here for 8 hours, okay? So I need to know why you're on set, or why do you want to be on set? Why do you want to be on set with me? And then what can I help you do, or who can I connect you with before you leave today? So when they got there, that was the first 3 things that we discussed, and I made sure that everybody got to the department that they needed to be in. Now they're all working. Some of them are second AD, some of them are in costuming, some of them working in camera department. I got to get a new set of interns now. So, but somebody gave me a chance, so I have to pass that along. On that project, I had to hire Spike, my DP, one of my DPs, as a PA. And he was fine. He was fine with it. He's like, Amber, I just love being on set. Great. He got there. I was like, what do you really want to do? He's like, can I camera op? Sure. So when the opportunity came up, we let him camera op. That was his first camera op credit. So, and make sure everybody gets their credits. Like, it has to be beneficial. If you can't get the money, I have to get you another way to be able to get to the money. If it's not on this project, it'll be somewhere else. As far as burnout is concerned, I'm a lady of a certain age. I won't say that, but I'm at the point where no is like my best friend. If it is not a gut feeling, if it's not a full body yes, I'm not doing I just turned down a huge project because I just was like, we're moving way too fast, and I had planned on the 4th quarter just kind of getting ready for next year. Great project, but there was just a lot that I was like, I'm not gonna fix all of this. However, I still left the door open. If you can push this back by 6 months, please, let's revisit this conversation, because I can do it then. But I'm just not gonna, I've stressed myself out many times before, and I'm a mom. Like, I gotta go home and do a thing with my kid. Like, I can't not be fully functioning and be, laid out because of a bunch of projects or whatever. So that's how I judge my things.
Dang, okay, yeah.
Thank you. I want you to be my boss. On that note, we're gonna go ahead and open up to you all. Does anyone have any questions? Yeah, to start. And you'll just need to project, because we just have the one mic for our guests
easy.
here.
I can project easily.
Okay.
I have a pragmatic question. As many of you